Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and welcome to this Frame Quilting Friday video. I've just received some beautiful vinyl fabric from Katie Baker. I had her on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked about quilting over weird fabrics like vinyl and leather. So she sent me some scrap pieces, so I get to play with it and see how this is going to work on the long arm frame. So let's get started. I think I'm going to quilt one with one design, and then next week I'll quilt the other piece with a different design. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot about quilting on this fun material. So the very first thing I want to do is check in on my stitch length. And I'm just stitching some straight lines right across this piece of vinyl. And you can see the difference already. I stitched this first line at 12 stitches per inch. The second line I'm stitching is at 16 stitches per inch. Now I'm using my channel locks, that's a lock on my frame to stop my machine from going up and down. It can only go side to side. So that way I produce this really nice straight line. So now I'm going to dial down. I'm going to take it down to 10 stitches per inch and just see what that looks like. I think the bigger the stitch, the better it's going to look on this vinyl, because it just makes it have a little bit more definition, a little bit more space between the stitches. I just think that looks better. But now that I'm judging 10 comparison to 12 in comparison to 16, I really like that 12 stitches per inch best. So that's what I'm going to go with. Let me bump this back up again and let's get going. I want to do a design called Undulation. Oops, I need to unlock my channel locks. There we go. Okay, so I want to start with Undulation, and this is that really funky design that we played with over Minky last week. And I love this. I'm just going to get started with just a totally random wiggly line. There we go. I'm going to bring this out way up. There we go. So I've got something really interesting to work with. And then now I'm going to tuck inside and do a very irregular echo. So I'm intentionally leaving more space, then I'm getting much closer together, then I'm leaving another wide gap. Now I'm going to try and do some travel stitching here. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit worried about messing up Katie's leather and her vinyl and sending her something that's totally messy, but I'm giving myself permission to make mistakes and just have a really good time here. Already, that is looking amazing, and all this is just a regular wiggly lines. It's not rocket science. It's just something about the definition I'm getting between the vinyl and the stitches. And then I do have a puffy. This is a puffy material here underneath. It is soft, I think Soft and Stable by Annie, and that is a common thing used in bag making, and it's kind of like a foam batting, and it has a little bit more structure than regular batting. And as you can see, it has this really nice definition when you quilt and leave a little bit more space between those lines. Oh, this is looking good. Now, if you're looking at this red vinyl over here, I found this in my stash, and I decided I really needed to test this. Like I said, I was a little paranoid, a little worried that I was going to get Katie's vinyl on the machine and then totally make a mess of it. So when I found that I had some vinyl in my stash, I grabbed that and did a lot of test runs. And this is really cool. I did not have to change my needle, and I did not have to change my thread, and I did not have to change my tension. I was pretty shocked. Everything worked perfectly from the get-go. And as you can see, these are some really gorgeous stitches, and they look just as good on the back as well. And I'm just using some red cotton fabric here as my backing, just to, get it on the frame and keep it nice and stable. Okay, so let's do some really funky stuff now that we're through that side. Let's take this Undulation and stitch it up a notch. I'm going to bring it in nice and close, and then out. I really like the ruler foot for this, because the ruler foot helps me gauge that 1/4 inch distance between the back of the foot. I can just see that I'm coming close to that 1/4 inch or coming within it, and then I know that that's as close as I want to get, and I come back forward. So I like the ruler foot for this a lot, even though I'm not using rulers. Oh man, that's looking cool. What's funny is I shot a picture of the red vinyl that I had stitched, and I sent a picture of it to Dad. And on the phone, this design ended up looking like melted chocolate on a pan. It's really funny. And this is looking really neat on the black too. I am stitching with gray Isacord thread. Isacord is a 40 weight embroidery thread, and this is in sterling, and I think that just looks amazing. All right, let's really shake it up, do something funky. I'm gonna come in and leave a little bit more space in the places that I have been getting close, and then starting to get close in the places I've been leaving space. I really like to do that every once in a while, just totally randomize the design, and that makes it even more interesting. Let's do that again. So here I'm coming close. I'm trying to remember to be close where I had distance before and leave gaps where I had been close before. This is kind of hurting my brain a little bit, I will be completely honest. I kind of get into a pattern or a habit, and then I kind of get stuck in it a little bit. And I tend, in those deep dips, like right there, I tend to want to get my lines closer. So I'm having to think about this a lot more, I'll be honest. And I'm not breathing as much as I was before too. So this is definitely an adventure. Now, as I come further down, I want to be careful that I don't run out of space on my frame. So I'm just going to stitch down in the foam area, in the batting area. And I know that that is as far, I'm going to put a little notch right there. That's as far as I can go. I need to be careful not to stitch beyond that point, or the ruler plate that I've got on the machine could hit the front of the frame, and that would cause me to stitch a kind of an ugly straight line over the vinyl, and that wouldn't be pretty. There we go. That's looking really interesting. Let's try and shake it up one more time here. Come in, leave a bigger gap, bring that in close, bigger gap, bring that, actually I'm going to extend that one way out and go way out and funky with that one too. I think that's the thing with undulation, is that if you do the same thing too many times, it can start to look too boring and repetitive, and you've got to shake it up every once in a while and do something really weird and leave some strange gaps. I think that really makes the design. I'll come in close right there. So far, I haven't found it to be a problem getting really close with the vinyl, but I think next week I'm going to try a design that involves travel stitching, and that will be an adventure, because then I'll be able to see if I stitch over a line repeatedly what happens. So there we go. That is Undulation stitched over beautiful black vinyl. I couldn't be happier with how that turned out. So that's it for this video. I had so much fun quilting on this vinyl. It was an awesome experience. I was a little scared, I'll be completely honest, and that's why I was happy to grab my samples and scraps of vinyl that I had in my stash and give this a try. I probably would never have tried this. I'd never have thought to put that fabric on my frame if it hadn't been for Katie and her awesome podcast episode, as I learned how she does this and makes gorgeous handmade bags. So I hope that you'll go and check out that podcast and learn more about what Katie does, and also give quilting on weird fabrics like vinyl a try. It's a lot of fun. And just to remind you, no, I did not change my needle, I didn't change my thread, and I didn't change my tension either. Now, that's just my experience on this frame. You may have a different experience, so experiment with some scraps first before you quilt something bigger. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode of a Frame Quilting Friday video. You can find many more videos as I quilt on my Grace Qnique machine on the Continuum frame at leahday.com/frame. I'm also a dealer for Grace machines, so if you'd like to look into getting yourself a long arm, you can find those on my website as well, leahday.com/grace. Until next time, let's go quilt.